All right, afternoon everybody, and thank you. My name's Craig. Looking forward to doing our second video. We've had a lot of response from the first video, some leaving comments on the site here and also online, which is great, and a good lot of feedback and quite some personal stuff, which I find very interesting. People wanting knowing like exactly what's going to happen and everything else. So I'd like to just point out that obviously whatever I say on here is just my personal view. I don't have a crystal ball. I'd like to think that some of the things that are going to come correct in the future, I have predicted just through studying and everything else. Some things I'll definitely get wrong, no question, but I'm just trying to put together my experience and what I've learned. And history teaches us, we've been, there's a great quote by, I think, Winston Churchill saying that the further we look back in history, the further we can see forward in the future. So a lot of the stuff is just basically what's happened in the past, and people tend to forget about that. So that's where I get that from. So please just take what you can out of this. But I think the main thing is that I'd like to pass on to everybody as well is that we have to be able to learn to think for ourselves and get educated for ourselves, because everybody's circumstances is totally different, and we have to be able to, if we get our own information from all different sources, we can basically put together what we think is right for us and then act accordingly, which is far better than just blindly being led by somebody, which you don't want to do. And I'm certainly not encouraging that at all. So I'm just providing a little bit of information that you might use along with some other stuff to make up some plans of yourself and everything else. So with the thinking, I think one of the things that I find very interesting is that people nowadays have this tendency to be very PC, and one of the things that's come out of that is that we're not supposed to offend anybody. And I listened to a bit of Jordan Peterson, and he's a psychologist, and quite rightly says that in order to think, you have to be prepared to offend somebody, because that's what thinking is. Thinking is actually changing your mind about something. So we think we have a problem, we solve it, we think about it, and then we move forward. That's what thinking is. So we're not just talking about everyday stuff and how's the weather and everything else. We're actually solving, problems that we all have individually, and that's what thinking is. So you need to be able to do that. And if I do that and talking to somebody else, there's no way in hell I know what will and won't offend you, and nor should I. And please remember that you can't offend anybody. People can only choose to be offended at you, which is a huge difference. And I think with this PC world we're going down at the moment, people forget that and somehow think that we're all responsible to not offend anybody. But of course, rationally, that's totally impossible and unpractical and stupid anyway. So that's just a bit of thinking. So just go out there, use your own homework and everything else. So I'd like to get back to where I was trying to conceptualize 12 years or 10 years of education and putting it all together on videos, and how the hell would you get that across as somebody, all the hours that I've watched videos and read books, and how do you put that across in half a dozen videos? Very, very hard. But I'd like to use a few metaphors and just trying to put a few things together so you can see how the way I think sometimes. Maybe I always take the big picture of stuff. I don't get too technical and detailed stuff. I just take the overall picture, which I find for me that's really easy for me, and I don't need to know about the ins and outs of everything. The bigger picture for me is a far better way to go. So I'd like to give you an idea about how I saw this economy and why I thought it was going to come to a crash anyway. Now it's always going to be, the virus is going to get blamed for this, of course, especially the shutdown, of course, which is huge, but the economy was going to crash anyway. It just needed a black swan event to basically set it off. And so this is the way I type to think about it. Think about it that we're all living in a village on a stream, beautiful little place, but it's in a valley, it's along a stream, and I go for a walk one day, and about 10 miles away I see this company's building a dam, and I think to myself, oh, that's not good. That's not going to be good for our village just upstream from that. And the water is doubling in that dam every day, it doubles. And I do a quick calculations and I work out that we've got 1 year before the whole town is underwater. And I go back and try and tell everybody that, you need to get out of here, because, eventually we're going to get underwater and die. And of course, everybody looks around and goes, they don't see anything, what's the problem? And house prices are going up, stock market's cool, KiwiSaver's doing fine, I'm just going to stay here, thanks, you're nuts. And so if the water's doubling every day, it takes 1 year before the houses come underwater. how many days in do you think before we're halfway to it's like halfway through, got half the water in there? And of course the answer, a lot of people think 6 months, but in actual fact the answer to that is yesterday. Because remember, it doubles every day. So yesterday it's half full, today it's over full. And that's kind of like how I see the people seeing the economy. There's things happening behind the scenes, and just not, they just don't see it, and things carry on until suddenly, wham, it's all here. But it's been building up for years. People just haven't seen it. And they go, oh my God, where'd that come from? Who would have thought? And so that's where I see the economy at the moment, and how people are probably reacting to it. So this indebtedness that we've got, and all the countries, all the companies that are in problems, countries that are in problem, all that kind of stuff has been long overdue. It's just the virus now has just made a black swan event. It's the hammer, if you like, that's popped the all bubble of real estate, bonds, shares, stocks, you name it, derivatives. They're all just highly overinflated. Have been for years, and they needed to come crashing down. And of course it always does. Everything goes in cycles through our whole lives, and that's just the way it is. So that's kind of how I viewed things and how I see things, always the bigger picture. So I'll talk about a bit of employment. On each video I'm going to put my views on certain aspects. So we've got employment, property, which I love, heaps of other stuff, but we'll talk about employment at the moment because I've certainly been asked about that personally quite a bit. So obviously with the lockdown, with the travel ban, everything else, anybody that has a business that's sole businesses related on overseas travellers, you're screwed basically. I don't mean to be negative about it, but you got to face up these things so that you can plan and do something about it. So if you have a job that is entirely reliant on overseas visitors, I'm picking to say that you probably won't have one anymore, and you need to look for somewhere else. If you have a business that's relying on that, maybe you can diversify into something that's more local. Hopefully you can. But there's certainly a few people that won't be able to do that, and they will have problems. So you've got to remember too that in the Depression, 1930 Depression, in America there was 25% of people unemployed, and in New Zealand about 15%. So the numbers were quite high, but also remember that half the population did fine. They still had a job, still spent their money, still went out for dinner every now and again, all that type of stuff. So it only affects a small amount. Obviously it's just a lot bigger amount than we're used to. But half the economy still works fine. So you can still go, there'll be still people out there that've got a house or a batch that needs painting or a deck put on it or whatever. There's still spare money. It's just not going to be as apparent as it was before. So you've got to use your head a little bit, go out there, get into some situations where you need to find work. That's going to be, people are going to be spending money, because they still are, and just look after yourself, your family, your kids and everything else. So grow a garden's a good idea, grow some food, get rid of all your unnecessary debts first off, because no one knows how long this is going to last for. So just anything that you don't need to be paying for once a month or whatever, get rid of it. And now's the time to do it. I think we're going to have a small window of opportunity after we get let out. And when you should probably then use to put your financials in order quick as you can, because it's not going to get any better anytime soon. So I'm enjoying a lovely day out here at the racetrack, and beautiful weather out there. Just been for a lovely bike ride. There's a few people out there walking and families together and all that kind of stuff. It looks really nice. I hope you're all safe, and I hope you all have a great Easter. And until next time, we'll see you then. Bye.